Okay, don't vape too close to the microphone. Try not to cough. Don't do that thing you do. And just centre, calm, centre, centre.
News. London Transport say they may have to close the underground system due to an infestation of horses.
Loads of horses, at least 30, I'd say. As a train approaches, they start running away from the train.
And what the drivers say they fear most of all is a head-on collision with a blind tube mare.
What's up, YouTube? Hello, it's me, Blind Tube Mare, back again with the last part of Stewart Lee, Ways to Change the World. He should have just called it Ways to Be Funny and go on about something for too long. So I'm feeling really quite unwell today. I don't know. I might have COVID, but I can't be bothered to do a test because every time I feel ill, I don't know if anyone else has this experience, every time I feel really ill and do a test, it's always negative, and I always have this feeling of real disappointment because I don't want to have COVID, but if I'm ill already, I want to be able to say, oh, I've got COVID, I'm really ill, but I never can. But maybe this time I really have got COVID. Anyway, that's just rambling about nothing. Good. Nice to see you. Let's dive straight in. I won't ramble. Don't ramble. Just react, talk. Don't vape on mic. Good. Let's dive in. Stewart Lee, Ways to Change the World with Christian humour. Hey.
So do you see new talent out there? Do you go and see a lot of comedy? Or?
Well, in the 90s, which is a long time ago now, isn't it? I used to be a club comic doing gigs 5 nights a week on bills with 4 or 5 people. And I felt I had, until about the mid-noughties, I felt like I had a feel of what was going on.
Really, I'm very much like Stewart Lee because I do a video every week. I'm on the YouTube circuit, and well, unlike him, virtually nobody watches my videos. But it is similar because if you plug away, and it only took him 20 years, so before he got really quite successful. So I've been going about 7 years and still nothing really. So yeah, about 13 years. I'll be nearly 70.
I'd be lying if I said I did now. The only time I see a bunch of new comics that I don't know about is if I do a benefit, and then I see amazing people. I mean, the standard is higher, right, in terms of people's professionalism and their ability to hold a room. But what I do miss is that when I came on the alternative comedy circuit, as it was then called.
He's going to talk about the guy with the block of ice. He's been criticised for this.
In the 80s. A lot of the people, it's difficult to imagine what else they could have done.
Yeah.
There were people that were just nuts in a brilliant way. Like the Iceman, who's got a film being made about him, whose act was that he melted ice. Or Steve Murray, who died recently, whose act was that he would just tear teddy bears to pieces, called himself the teddy bear torturer. Or there were people like Sadovitz, who seemed to be able to be in that state, who were really furious to the point where in a different society they might have been locked up. So it seemed to be this space where a lot of
It's a bit like the early days of YouTube, isn't it? Where people just did stuff and there was sort of, diamonds in the rough. And now it's much like comedy. It's become corporate and professional, and there's a deluge of total shit.
Quite problematic people were able to rub along and monetize their madness, whereas now it's the opportunities that comedy presents has necessarily meant that ambitious professional people tend to go into it, whereas before it seemed like a retreat from the world into a hermetically sealed environment where you might be safe.
It'll probably be AI comedians soon. AI will work out how to be funny by watching hours and hours of stand-up and analysing it, and it'll learn, and it will be probably eventually thousands of times funnier than human beings are, which is quite a frightening prospect, and people will die at AI comedy gigs because they'll laugh so much that their spleens will erupt and choke off all their vital functions.
And do you think the man wolf is a phase we're going through? Is everything sort of circular?
Well, I think that Simon Reynolds wrote about this very well in a book about pop music, where he said, I think it was in Rip It Up, where he said that we grew up viewing popular culture as a series of sections of a rocket that were gradually jettisoned as it moved forwards. But what's happening now is there's so much media out there that everything is available all at once. For example, my kids' music tastes are bizarre, that they cherry pick from different eras. They don't recognise age as an issue. They'll go and see someone really old, whereas we wanted to see people of our age doing things that were new, moving.
Oh, and they don't listen to albums anymore. I mean, when I was about 15, 16, I had like 3 albums, probably Queen's Greatest Hits, Thriller, and I don't know what the other one would have been. But you listen to them so many times on a tape that you automatically knew the next song. You could almost hear the next song in your head. Now, I found my son listening to Portishead, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's Portishead. Like, is it? I don't know. It's a good song, isn't it? Didn't even know who it was, let alone listen to the album. It's disgusting. I hate modern culture.
Forwards. Yeah. I think with comedy now, it's difficult to make a generalisation about it because all sorts of things are available simultaneously in a way that they never quite have been before. There were definitely feelings of phases. It just depends, and we're back where we started, is how do we tell people about it when there seem to be mechanisms in place economically and politically to actively silence and repress certain forms of expression.
Like my channel, this is being repressed. I'm absolutely certain of it. Elon Musk has seen this and he's saying, don't let this guy loose on the world.
I saw an answer you gave in print once about regrets, and one of your regrets was not enjoying things that were popular. Because I think when we were young, it was deeply uncool to enjoy anything that was popular. So you rejected it out of hand. What do you feel you missed out on?
Well, there's loads of things I just didn't. I mean, I was around in Britpop, but I was going to see free jazz while that was happening, and I didn't ever go to raves.
So you're
I love the Smiths, but I only got into them after they split up. I always regret that. I never saw them live or anything.
How are we going to get a sort of a regular fix of Stewart Lee now? I mean, like, have you stopped doing columns now, or?
It was very nice for me to have the column because I don't really know how the average person copes with life, but when I see things in the news that
not very well
really annoy me, I think my next thought is, how do I do a joke about that? I'll write something about it and it'll be funny, and that kind of cures me a bit. And now I'm not able to do that with the immediacy that I could. So I thought maybe once a week I'll film myself doing 10 minutes of news stuff in a club, try and find some way of getting it to pay for itself online. And actually, just in the last couple of days, somebody started talking to me about doing Substack. The problem is that when I was writing for The Observer and when I wrote for TV, when stuff was on TV, highly paid lawyers from competent organisations like The Observer and the BBC would check that what you were saying was that the setup was factually accurate, even if the punchline was exaggerated for comic effect. And they would also look to see if something you'd said run the risk of being misinterpreted in a way that could be acted upon in bad faith by people. And even with that, there were 3 times in the last 5 years with The Observer, even after the legal checks, where I came close to career-ending disasters in terms of people complaining about things and how they would have chosen to portray me and whether there would be legal action.
Well, there's a very simple way around that. Just make sure that hardly anybody watches or listens to you. And then, I mean, I get away with tons of stuff. I could say anything on my channel, I reckon. And because no one watches it, it's brilliant. I never get any complaints. Sometimes get a complaint, like a comment like, why do I have to look at this bloke while I'm watching Stewart Lee? And to that, I'd say just watch the original video and don't watch your reaction to it.
So I don't think I can really afford to do political comedy as an independent without
the lawyer.
Without the lawyer, yeah. I've gone in the last 10 days from thinking leaving this paper is actually an opportunity to operate and do political satire independently, to thinking I can't lose my house or not be able to live, or we can't.
Because the option would be to play safe, which is sort of presumably impossible for you.
It is. So what I have to do is I tour the stuff for 2 years. I think the next show will be on Sky and Now TV again, and they will help me at the point of delivery to make sure that whatever's in it is not actionable, because I can't. So actually, the chilling effect of how these people nibble away at you is that I probably can't afford to do that independently.
I wish I had people nibbling away at me. Sounds nice.
I probably can't afford the personal risk of doing topical comedy on the Substack or setting up my own YouTube channel or whatever.
And you also sort of rejected panel shows, didn't you? Quite a long time ago.
It was mutual.
Because he was crap at it.
Yeah.
Look,
it was a conscious uncomfortable.
Creatively, I rejected them because I think that in all forms of art, in music and comedy, it's a collaborative process, right? Whereas the panel show is set up in such a way as people are trying to get noticed as individuals, either to win the round or.
I'll put a thing up about. I did a video of Mock the Week when the script writers went on strike, which is, if I do say so myself, quite funny.
Or because they want to dominate it to then. And I remember particularly one where I did what I would have done when I was in the double act, or when I was working in groups of people, where I set up someone on the other team for a joke by giving them a feed line where I pretended to not understand something, knowing that they could say a particular thing, and they did it, which I'd set up, and then acted like it was a victory. It wasn't seen as part of a collaboration. I don't really want to be a part of that. Also, I felt like it wouldn't really suit the character of me, wouldn't be on them. But also, when I did do them, I was terrible at them as well. I did about 3 when in the year I got married. I was very naive as well. I went along thinking they were what they pretend to be. And
you should see. Just look him up on Have I Got News for You, and it's sad. He actually did. He doesn't say anything for about the first third of the show.
And then I had the realisation that so many of us have, where you realise the writers are there writing the lines for everyone. Most people are take from the writers. Some people would bring in their own writers. The writers might get paid more than that comic's fee for the show, but they wanted to give that money to the writer so that they would look good on it. And it's nonsense, the whole thing. And I can't help thinking there probably is a window somewhere for a show in which comedians generally collaborate and are not being manipulated by producers and writers. Although I understand there's a thing on at the moment called The Last Laugh or something.
Yeah,
and young people
on
tell
Prime,
me,
which is brilliant.
Young people tell me that is that, and that.
Yeah,
but I'm not going to watch it. But it sounds like
very
some
wise.
What if we actually did this?
Yes.
Maybe that would be...
And put 12 comics in a room together, and they like each other.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that? I mean, is the panel show the string quartet on the deck of the Titanic right now?
I don't know. I mean, I certainly I don't know. I think it. I don't watch enough of them to know. I haven't seen one for 10 years, so I don't know. Yeah, but I mean, I do.
Have I got news for you? Rolls on, looking exactly the same every week. Still makes me laugh.
I do often think about an interview that Chris Morris gave a few years ago, where he talked about, if you're a political satirist, are you just the kind of jester to the court, you know? And there is a worry of that. And certainly, I mean, Larry David has come out fighting.
I wanted to ask you about this.
About Bill Maher.
Yeah, I mean, Bill Maher went to have dinner with Trump and then came out and did a whole thing about his dinner with Trump.
Yeah.
And said, you know, if only Trump could be more like this in public, then maybe we'd think about him differently. And then Larry David did this very funny reply.
Yeah, it's great.
And now Bill Maher sort of hit back.
I hate Donald Trump.
I hate Sebastian Coe.
Yeah.
Where do you sit in this conversation?
Well, with Larry David, absolutely. And I think you know, look, I mean, one of the problems a lot of us had on the left was that, or in the centre. I'm a centrist dad, of course. What is that? When Starmer got in, despite everything that has happened and with Corbyn and everything, a lot of us are thinking, well, it's going to be difficult to do comedy about him because compared to what's just come, he's competent and not actively evil and set on them. But obviously, he's blotted his copybook fairly quickly, and you have to sometimes go against your political instincts to do jokes about people that you might perhaps sympathise with, because you have to look for the angle. But I think no one should be doing anything in support of Trump. No comedian with any sense of the purpose.
And are you happy to?
Have I said I hate Donald Trump?
I hate Sebastian Coe.
Excoriate Starmer.
It depends what he does. I mean, certainly, the audiences are. I feel like they're expecting it more than they were 3 months ago. You know that if you're the canary in the mine, then certainly
something's going on.
Something's going on, yeah. And but I mean, it must be weird for Larry David, because of course Cheryl's the actress who plays Cheryl. Her husband is Kennedy, who's dismantling the health, what little health knowledge there is in the infrastructure of American government. So it's incredible, you know.
I mean, if I have got COVID, then I can just drink some bleach, so I'll be fine.
I don't know how those dinner parties work.
But in talking about Starmer, what I mean is, like, you do not feel that as a liberal,
as a centrist dad, yeah.
Who sees the March of Reform as the big threat to Starmer, that you should lay off.
Well, I think
Starmer for fear of helping along.
We'll have to see, and it's interesting doing this show at the moment. Basically, there's a story arc to it that I've got to hold on to, but I do 10 minutes. Well, at the beginning, I say, look, over the course of the night.
Spoiler alert.
I say to the audience, I'm going to do 10 minutes of liberal stand-up from a liberal perspective. They're going to do 10 minutes of reactionary Netflix-style stand-up in a reactionary Netflix way. Then at the end of the second half, I'm going to do 10 minutes of liberal stand-up in a reactionary Netflix way. It's like the stand-up comedy equivalent of the great triptych paintings in the cathedrals of medieval Europe, right? But so it kind of, at the moment, it's an interesting experiment into testing all those things out.
Which bit gets the biggest laugh?
Well, the interesting thing is that it's so easy to do nasty reactionary Netflix comedy. And it's such a surprise that the nasty reactionary Netflix bit is kind of the best bit of the topical stuff. And I think it's partly because that audience enjoy the fact that it's not the sort of thing they should normally see. And also they're off the hook because I'm dressed as a werewolf. But yeah, that kind of plays into the hands of the show, because something
I hate werewolves
is clearly attractive about callousness and cruelty at this point in history that is allowing those sorts of people to flourish in politics, journalism and entertainment.
So what's the difference between what you're doing in that bit and what Ricky Gervais is doing?
I'm dressed as a werewolf.
I think on that note, Stewart Lee, thank you very much
Thanks
indeed.
a lot. Cheers.
Thanks
you.
for sharing your ways
Thanks
to
for having
change
me.
the world.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that. You can watch all of these interviews.
Shut
on
up.
the
Good. Right. Thank you for that, Mr. Stewart Lee. Some interesting stuff there on comedy and the corporatisation of comedy and panel shows and how things have changed since the 90s. Yeah, I like Bill Burr.
I hate Sebastian Coe.
I think he's actually very good, and I mean I like what's his name? Doug Stanhope is absolutely brilliant. But Doug Stanhope absolutely is playing a character. He's he is a sort of Wolfman, sort of says what you can't say. I mean, it's all of this comedy is just a reaction to political correctness and 90s nice, yeah, we hate Thatcher sort of political correct bullshit. And I think the pendulum will swing, and it won't get back to being right on for a very long time, I imagine. But there you go. There's my little analysis. I am quite unwell. Do forget to not like and subscribe and hit the notifications button and leave a comment below and share, Sonny, and share. And I'll see you literally on the next video, and I'll try and do something funny. I don't know. I have no idea what I'm doing. Don't nobody go nowhere.
I hate Sebastian Coe.